Welcome to the Writer's Dream. This is the land of books, authors, and illustrators. You can find us on YouTube, just look for the Writer's Dream, or you could look for my name, Linda Maria Frank, and you will see about 130 different interviews by authors and illustrators. We're on Facebook, and our Facebook page is, guess what? The Writer's Dream. If you wish to ask me a question or you'd like to be on the show, please message me through the Writer's Dream Facebook page. Today's guest is Anna Jurinich, and she has written a book called The Christmas Odd Box. And she is primarily, though, an illustrator, and I think you're going to really enjoy Anna's illustrations today. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Tell me about your life as an illustrator. How did you get started?
Well, when I was in junior high and just haven't arrived in the United States, I realized that somehow I could draw better than other children, and the teachers encouraged me to go to the High School of Art and Design. Mm-hmm. And after that, I went to Parsons School of Design on a scholarship. And then at one point, I went back to Europe, where I'm from. I went to Florence to study the Renaissance art, which I really loved. So I then came back to the United States and basically illustrated book jackets. But I also, more than an illustration, I really am a painter. And that's what I pursued mostly, galleries in the cities. And then when we moved to Long Island, I've exhibited a lot in Southampton, the East End, and presently I have a painting at the Hexter Museum in their biennial exhibition. So, and I'm with galleries in the Hamptons a lot. So,
what do you like to paint?
Really very serious subjects, usually what's going on in the world. Somehow I have this mission that, that art could save or better the world.
Oh, of course it can.
And
what's your painting in the Hexter Museum? What's the topic?
It's called the 50th anniversary, and it deals of older people, not always just young women being painted. And so it deals with the subject is a woman sitting, wondering 50 years of her married life. Mm-hmm. And the dress is all decorated with all the numbers, like 50 numbers. They look like decorations, but they actually look like awards. But everyone has a number. Mm-hmm. Because I thought actually no matter how great someone's marriage is, we mark every year, and every year is an award, either to your partner or to yourself. And so so that's how it's illustrated. And it's a whimsical but yet serious painting. I like people to look at my work and when they look at it, identify with it. And they'll go into their own life and say, wow, this painting really talks about something I really feel close about.
Well, I would definitely look at that painting and certainly apply it. Even if you're not married, every year is...
Yeah, that's true about life.
Every year is an award.
Yeah.
I know. I was married twice and I'm divorced twice, so there's no one to buy me jewelry, which is really silly. So and I always have to have an excuse for things. I can't just go out and buy a piece of jewelry. So every time I accomplish something that I think is important, I go and buy myself a piece of jewelry.
That's great.
So those are awards.
Why not?
Yeah.
But another painting that I just finished, and I'm doing a series of them, so I just finished 2. It's called, and this is what I say, what's going on in the world. It's called Angry Planet, and it's basically like the universe and our planet in there, but the planet is filled with, I would say, I didn't count, but maybe 400, 500 angry faces. And we're always angry at each other. At any point that we know in our history, it's always at one point of the globe, there's some kind of war going on, while the other one there's peace, and then vice versa. So we're always angry. And so, so this kind of work.
Well, I think that's the job of art, isn't it? Art and music is to make us aware of the human condition.
Well, to me, I think I analyze myself. My work is it tells a story, and it's surreal, realism, kind of mixture of that. And I think I developed it as a diary. My work was like a diary to me when I came to this country. We escaped from Yugoslavia, today Croatia, when I was 11 years old. And so you can imagine yourself, you're in this big city, New York City, and you don't know anyone, you don't know the language. So eventually, although everybody was really great, the teacher was fabulous helping me, still, you're really by yourself. And so I think I started to illustrate at that time, saying a story about how I felt. And that kind of developed more, mostly in ink, and then painting and...
What's your medium in painting? Is it?
It's acrylic mostly, yeah. And that's also because out of convenience. When my 2 children were born, I thought, well, nobody has time for this now, painting. So I thought, well, you know, if I put the oils away and I have the acrylics on the kitchen table, I can mix the sauce, check the homework, do the laundry, and then get right back to at least do an hour here and there. And that really was a great exercise. I realized later that I didn't always depend on feeling like painting, but I was able to bring it on when I wanted to. And my way of thinking was, okay, so I'm not going to have a painting in a week. I'll have a painting done in a month. But, you know, 12 months a year, I'll have enough at the end of the year to have an exhibition maybe. And I always was at it. A lot of people that I know, they'll put it away, and then for many years they don't go back. But this way you always kept that line, like that connection to it, that alive.
But that's what I think authors do. Authors who are successful, and by successful I mean those who produce books that can be published, and it's the same with art. You have to be disciplined. If you really want to get your work out there, you can't wait for yourself to be inspired.
Yeah, exactly. But with painting, maybe it's a little different than writing, because in writing, I guess all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. But in painting, you really need a little bit more. Like you have to get your colors out. You might need an easel, you know. So, so you always say, I don't have that time. I don't have time for that.
I have, my office is it looks like a mess.
That's great.
But it's piles of, this is the research, this is the file on the characters. Then I have pictures. When I write a book, I go onto the internet. For instance, the last book was about a plane from World War II and about women who were test pilots and flew the planes and whatnot. So I have pictures all over the office about this topic, and I'll look at them, and they're an inspiration to me. I look at them, and I see the characters.
Yeah.
So in a way, I mean, I don't know how other authors work, but in a way, I make a mess of one room.
Mess is good.
Yeah,
orderly mess.
Yeah, as long as you know what's going on, right?
Exactly, you know. And when I have my new studio, it's only like a year old, and it was so nice. And now people come in and say, oh, this is really a working studio. I said, yes, it is. You know, everything is everywhere. But inspiration comes from everywhere, either sometime like just a sound or something I read. I read a story on the Newton, I think is his name, and he wrote Amazing Grace. So I read something that he said in his diary. He said something like, Lord, who am I? And I just read it, and I kept turning the page and reading it, and that kept staying. So I went right back, and I said, you know, what a great question. Like, we're all so different. So why am I who I am? You know, and that wrote a visual, and I have a painting from that.
But that's the life journey. Who am I? Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're always finding out
who we are.
Yeah.
I was watching probably something on public television about the brain, and they started out by saying that the brain is the only organ that thinks about itself.
That's good. That's
So
very
I
good.
thought that was very clever, and it's true, but that's, we spend our lives wondering who we are and what we should be doing,
Yeah.
and those who do not ask those questions must have a very
I
boring
know.
life.
And I
don't
think
know.
that question definitely comes when you're like 16. I think anyway that I saw that in my own children and to myself, like when you really become aware that now you're here unique and there's something that you have to do that's unique. So what are you going to be doing for the rest of your life, you know? I was very lucky that I had no question. I loved drawing when I was even in Yugoslavia, today Croatia. And I remember an uncle asking me, so where are you going to be when you grow up? And I was 11. I said, well, I don't know. And he said, well, you love to paint, you're going to be an artist. And I thought, why, is that a job? Because I thought that I loved it so much, it's not a job. And when he said, of course it's a job.
Yes,
I said, well, then that's it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and so there was no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a number of occasions to talk to junior high kids mostly, and high school kids about writing and writing as a career. And the first thing I tell them is you need to get a day job.
Yeah.
And I said, but you can get a day job as a writer. You can, I said, go on the internet. They're always on the internet. Look at all that verbiage. Who writes that stuff?
Exactly.
Somebody writes it. Somebody writes news stories. Somebody writes magazine articles. Somebody does editing. Textbooks. There's a tremendous number of jobs in writing. You're not being paid to write the great American novel, but this is all part of the industry, and then you have to do this on the side. It's just like if you got a job as a commercial artist, that's really not your art.
Right.
You're doing art for somebody else.
Right. Well, right after college, I worked for Women's Wear Daily as a fashion illustrator, and that wasn't really
fun.
It wasn't really me, but it was fun. It's a fun world, but and I'm not really that much into fashion, so I look at everything very.
You look pretty good.
Oh, thank you. But and then I went to, at that time, many years ago, you can just call any art director in the city, like Doubleday, Random House, and say, hi, my name is Anna Jurinich. I would like to show you my portfolio. They'll give you a date, and you just appear. And now it's I understand it's very difficult. You need agents and everything. But that is how I got a few jobs illustrating book jackets. And one in 1976 won the American Institute of Graphic Arts Awards as being one of the best covers in the country that year. So, and it was I used to work with just Crow Quill pen and India ink, so it was very like Durer-like, you know, they look like prints or etchings, but they were really actually, you know, just illustrations.
But that's a difficult medium.
Yeah, I loved it because it's like you get lost in there. I'm very into detail.
I see that. So we should really get to the topic today of this wonderful book that you've written and the gorgeous illustrations. This will be such a treat for the people who watch this show. So let's talk about what inspired the book, The Christmas Odd Box.
Okay, so I had absolutely no plan to write a book that day, but it was after Christmas 1999, and I was storing all my ornaments away, and I realized I was putting all the different ones in one box, and all the red ones put together, all the silver ones together, and these all were in one box. And then when I put the lid on, which had like a window on top, I looked at this box and I said, wow, you guys are in a very tough situation here. I mean, you're all different, and if it's this little world you're going to be in a whole year, if you're anything like us, it won't be easy. So I remember really actually saying aloud to them, you better be good in there, you know, for a whole year. And then when I said that, I just said, well, there's a story there. What happens in the book that whole year? That when this woman opens the box again, they have understood what Christmas is about. And so that was just the idea. And I started illustrating the first illustration. That was 1999, and that's the cover. That's
Oh,
the cover is the first illustration
that's the first one you did.
that I did. And first illustration is of Pulcinella, who's one of the ornaments. Number one, who's one of the ornaments. And Pulcinella, as soon as he's in the box, he...
So we're looking at illustration number 1 now. There we go. There we go.
Yeah. As soon as he's in the box, he's trying to show he's better than anybody else. He starts to sing opera, like Il Pagliaccio. And the box shakes, but everybody is aware who he is. And they try to tell him he's very rude because some of them are trying to sleep. So that's kind of how it kind of starts. And then as it goes on, they're getting to know each other. And there's a Pinocchio in the box in illustration number 2.
Here's number 2.
There's Pinocchio in the box who doesn't like the situation. It's getting tight.
I see his little foot coming out.
Yeah, it's getting very tight. It's getting very hot. And he figures when everybody's asleep, he can just slowly get his wooden leg out little by little. And it took all his might to get that leg in that situation because he's not waiting for anyone to let him out. He's just getting out. But at one point, he hears footsteps. And there's someone now in front of the box. And the lady comes for the American flag because it's the 4th of July, who was sitting, the flag was sitting on top of the window. And so she sees the foot. And she just says, oh my God, what's this foot doing out here? And she just throws it in. And that's very important. I didn't analyze what I was writing. Because I sort of feel when you self-analyze, you stop yourself. I analyze when everything's done, when you can't change it. So what's important later I realized is that Pinocchio is forced to be inside that box and to make do. I think that's what I meant unconsciously for a whole year, no matter what, he's there. So illustration number 3 is very, very important in the sense that the window is now opened and they are placed near another window. So they're aware by the darkness and the sun coming in that the days are going. So they kind of knew where in the calendar they were. But still, they were not getting along. There's a lot of things happening that they're accusing each other. They broke each other. There's a pearl ornament that snapped, and so now they hurt each other. But at one point, as the sun